Hello, everyone. We are live doing Advent of Code today. I will be doing C++. Miguel will be doing Julia.
Whew. Yeah, attempting to. This is still day one, so.
Yeah. How are you feeling about this year?
Um, not too shabby. So, I haven't studied as much as I wanted. I know there's some graph theory coming up, but I know how to parse numbers from a file really quickly now, or at least I think I remember the incantations, so that should be fine.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I have just brought up the puzzle for today. We haven't had a look at it yet, so we're doing
I
this.
I just pulled it up yesterday and I knew that there was just like numbers on the screen and
Yeah.
that's it. Like I haven't seen it. So, let's
All right, let's
read
give
it
this a
for.
read. Oh, I forgot I have
Yeah.
this thing which like changes some of the random words in my browser to Italian because I'm learning Italian. So I can disable that. It's fine.
This is surprise Italian lessons.
Yeah, surprise Italian lessons. All right. Hey, thanks to the Fall Code Show. Calorie
All right,
counting.
so
Santa's
yeah.
reindeer typically eat regular reindeer food, but they need a lot of magical energy to deliver presents on Christmas. I would like some magical energy. That sounds good.
Yes.
For that, their favorite snack is a special kind of star fruit that only grows deep in the jungle. They also brought you on their annual expedition to the grove where the fruit grows. To supply enough magical energy, the expedition needs to retrieve a minimum of 50 stars by December 25th. Although the elves assure you that the grove has plenty of fruit, you decide to grab any fruit you see along the way, just in case. Collect stars by solving puzzles. 2 puzzles will be made available on each day in the Advent calendar. The second puzzle is unlocked when you complete the first. Each puzzle grants 1 star. Good luck. Alright. The jungle must be too overgrown and difficult to navigate in vehicles or access from the air. The elves' expedition traditionally goes on foot. As your boats approach land, the elves begin taking inventory of their supplies. One important consideration is food, in particular the number of calories each elf is carrying, which is our puzzle input. The elves take turns writing down the number of calories contained by the various meals, snacks, rations, etc. that they have brought with them, 1 item per line. Each elf separates their own inventory from the previous elf's inventory, if any, by a blank line. Hey, everyone in chat. For example, suppose the elves finish writing their items' calories and end up with the following list. So we've got numbers, blank line, number, blank line, numbers, blank line, so forth, so forth. So this list represents the calories of the food carried by 5 elves. The first one's carrying 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, a total of 6,000. And then this one only has 1 with 4,000 calories. This one has 1,100, 11,000 even, and so on and so forth. Okay, that seems straightforward. In case the elves get hungry and need extra snacks, they need to know which elf to ask. They'd like to know how many calories are being carried by the elf. How many calories are being carried by the elf carrying the most calories? That's a bit of a poem here. In the example above, this is 24,000 carried by the 4th elf. This one here. Makes sense. Okay, find the elf carrying the most calories. How many total calories is that elf carrying? Okay, so I think my approach to this is just going to be grab all of the lines, separate them into subgroups on empty lines. Accumulate, sum up the subgroups, find the maximum element of those accumulated subgroups.
Yes. So, all right. On my screen, I've got Julie has a REPL, which is.
I'm gonna mute you from my stream, so everyone in chat say bye for now, and I'll pop you back up when we're done.
Same.
Okay. I'm also gonna mute myself in Discord so that Miguel doesn't just get my voice going in his ear. All right. So basically, what I've got to start off is I just kind of copied across some of my CMake stuff from last year. My only dependencies which I'm using VC package is I have my own little ranges library, which is essentially polyfills like things which will probably make it into ranges, the standard ranges at some point, but aren't quite there yet. And then I have Hannah Dushkova's CTRE compile time regex, because you end up having to do regex stuff a lot in these kinds of things, and std regex is pretty horrible. And then I've got like a little Python script to generate me a new day. So, oops, this should generate me. There we go. All right. So what I start off with basically is just part 1, part 2, and it reads in my input, and my main function just calls part 1. This is just so that every day I can just run this script and it gives me a blank input file, which I will put in our test input for now and save this. Okay. So we want to get lines, split on empty line, accumulate max element. I should be able to essentially write what I just said, because I have a get lines thing. So I can do something like lines is TL views get lines of my input, and I'll put this into a vector just so that it's all contiguous in memory. Using TL2, std2 is going to be making C++23, I believe. It basically just converts a range into a container, like so. So this will get all my lines and convert them to a vector. Next, I can get, I'll just call this range for now, take my lines, and I want to split into subgroups on new lines. So I can do std views, oops, split on new line, on an empty line, and then I want to, for each of those sub ranges, because this is going to be the elements of this range are going to be these groups of lines. I can do an accumulate. So I'm going to transform. This is I'm just using ranges for everything because this stuff all maps on to ranges so well. So for each group, we're going to accumulate them. There is no std ranges accumulate yet, but fortunately I have an implementation of fold, which is going to make it into C++23. So I can do TL fold. I'm going to fold the group. Fold is just a left fold. It's an accumulation, a sum, a generalized sum, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to sum this, and this will be the accumulator, and this will be some string type. So we're going to do return accumulator plus std s2I of our string. Formatting getting a little bit confused, and we're going to return this. So basically, we're splitting into subgroups. For each subgroup, we're going to sum it up, first converting all of those strings into integers, and this should give us a range of our sums. And then I can see out std ranges max element of range. This should give me the max element returns an iterator. There we go. So this should give me the max element of all of my sums. Let's give it a try. And here we're hoping for, what answer? 24,000. And if anyone in chat notices me doing anything wrong at any point, please just let me know. I do not mind the help. When you're doing things on stream, sometimes you just get the simplest of things wrong. 24,000. Phenomenal. Oh, Happy Cerberus says there's a max overload that takes the range. Oh, interesting. So if I just do std ranges max, does that also work? Taking a little bit to compile and run things just because I'm streaming and everything at the same time. Last year, I had a really, really crappy laptop. Yeah, that works. Sweet. I had a really crappy laptop. I ended up having to do all of my coding on my laptop and have my partner's laptop next to me with a video capture card running through it and streaming from there. Okay. Cool. Let's get our puzzle input. And chuck this in here. And rerun it. And we get 69,281. That's the right answer. 1 gold star. Alright, before we move on to the next one, let's tell Miguel we're done. Here we go, we just finished the first part of the puzzle. You're muted, so I can't hear you, but we're just gonna move on to part 2, and then we can sync up when we're all done.
All right, sweet. I have my data structured because I stopped trying to be clever now.
Nice. Yeah, I'm I'm not using data structures. I'm just doing everything with ranges. I'll show you my solution after we're all done. Okay, so let's have a look at part 2. Thanks to follow, Geeky Doo. Continue part 2. Okay, part 2. By the time you calculate the answer to the elf's question, they've already realized that the elf carrying the most calories of food might eventually run out of snacks, and that would be a disaster, wouldn't it? Can't be having that. To avoid this unacceptable solution, the elves would instead like to know the total calories carried by the top 3 elves carrying the most calories. That way, even if one of those elves run out of snack, they still have 2 backups. Okay. In the example above, the top 3 elves are the 4th elf, then the 3rd elf, then the 5th elf. Hey Mara, the sum of the calories carried by these 3 elves is 45,000. Oh, thanks for the subscription, Chaku. Find the top 3 elves carrying the most calories. How many calories are they carrying in total? Alright, so basically we're doing the same thing. But instead of getting the max, we're gonna do. We could just sort them all, but let's do it properly. Let's do partial sort. Range is partial sort on range. We need to make this into a vector so that it's random access. Sort requires random access ranges, and I think this will be. I'm not sure exactly what split gives you back. I think split might give you back an input range or something. An input range is one which you can only walk over once. Random access means you can jump around wherever you want. And a forward range, you can save the iterator at any point and then walk forward from there, but you can't go backwards. So we're going to do TL2 std vector. We have a partial sort copy. Well, std range is partial sort copy. Cool. Miguel's just telling me that he's moving on to part 2. Partial sort copy. So we give it a range, we give it a result range, comparator to projections, and So this copies the first n elements. Where does n come from? From the source range first to last, as if it were partially sorted. Only the output range needs to be random access from the... No, I'm just going to use partial sort because it's fine. So you could use partial sort copy for this, but I'm just going to do it this way. Range +3, and we're going to do this std greater because we want to get the highest ones. Formatting getting a little bit confused here. And then we're going to see out std ranges max of the first 3 values. Oh no, not ranges max, sorry. We're going to do a fold again. TL fold of ranges of our range, our partially sorted range. Take the first 3 and 0 std plus. Look okay? Not sure if that's just IntelliSense getting a little bit confused by all of my ranges code here. Okay. Let's give that a run, see what happens. Big number. Big number is correct. Yay. Alright, let's tell Miguel that we are finished and we can go and peek in on his code. Hey, we are finished both parts now. You want to do a live share and we can have a look at what your code's doing?
Sure. So are you looking at my screen or?
No, if you do a...
Oh yeah, right.
If you do a live share with the...
we practiced this, yeah.
We did practice it. We're prepared.
Yes. Oh, I got some people talking in my chat. Invitation link. All right, so let me pull up chat with you. I got some BQNers in my chat already with the 3-character solution. That's great. How do I full screen? No, I don't want a full screen. I want... There we go.
I
the
do
virtues of having
I do
two
kind of want to
monitors.
learn like APL or something just for the ridiculousness of the solutions.
I know.
Have to get one of the proper APL keyboards though if I was gonna do it. Like you can't go.
I know.
Can't go
you
halfway.
have to go. So I thought about it. Like someone was like, "Hey, I want to do Advent of Code," and I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "What new language should I do it in?" And I'm like, "APL or BQN?" And they're like, "What is that?" And then I just thought, like, my meme answer was the drill tweet, like, what is it? $300 for groceries, $200 for gas, $8,000 in all the Unicode symbols for a funky, cool keyboard.
Yeah.
Someone who is good at budgets, please help me. My programming language is dying.
I'm trying to show people in my stream. Yeah, this is what APL looks like for people who aren't familiar with it. It's pretty funky, but you can do like ridiculous things with it because it's these symbols are so semantically dense that
and there's like a sort of like visual correlation from the ideas. Like the maximum one is like, so actually the notation for maximum we stole from the inventor of APL. Well, not like we stole, but like he proposed it, and then people are like, this is such a yes, we should have this should be ceiling. Yes, this should be, and it's like, oh, this one's floor, and we kept those. we didn't keep the rest of them, and
Yeah.
that might have made. Um,
Like here's a Game of Life implementation that we've just found, and
oh
it's
yeah,
like,
that's
tiny. It's so cool that
right. And so, what I would say it's one of the coolest things is because you are forbidden from fiddling with indexes in a sense. Like
mm,
you must think as an array, or
yeah.
I like to say you must think like a GPU would. Like
Mm-hmm.
you operate on all data all the time, and
Oops.
so you have to look at all your problems as a GPU would. And
Mm.
so that makes it very easy to think like a GPU because you just banned every other way of thinking. Sort of.
All right.
Not real. How do you been using link deleted? Starting, ascending, and descending. Yeah, I have some people in my chat um, that are clamoring for BQN to happen on my stream, and I just haven't been able to yet. So I think, is this what I needed, anyways? Partial sort. All right. So are you seeing my screen?
It's still loading, I think. I tried to join, and now it's
Oh,
kind of.
it's that's invite others. Copy link. So that's weird. There we go. I sent the link again. Oh, but it should have been. It should work.
Yeah. Let me try one more time. For people who don't know, live share is like a way of sharing. Oh, there we go. It looks like it's working now. Live share is
Oh,
a way to
yes.
share live sessions of coding between Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. Quite handy
So
for.
this is my horrible solution. People will be like, or at least the BQN people will be like, "Why are you thinking about this in strings?" But that's fine. We'll get to it. So I just start, and this is like not idiomatic performance Julia at all. It's like what I need to like get the job done.
I think I'm just
I
seeing
just start.
your source your input file. I'm not seeing your Julia file for some reason.
You're not seeing the REPL. That's where all the actions happen. Right? That's a shame. How can I share in terminal? Start or join another call. Focus participants. Request other participants. Share terminal. Oh, there we go. You can read write my terminal. Oh, wait, where did that go? Can you see the terminal now?
I can see a terminal. It doesn't have anything in it yet. Can you try typing
All
something?
right. Yes. So is it this one? The one I did ls?
No. Oh, yes. I saw that. Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So I guess we learned something today. Let me exit the Julia REPL, or rather, call. So this is Julia. You get a super cool banner, right? This is the latest and greatest. And so this is the benefit of having it written all in the REPL. I just press up. Actually, for the next time I'll get the screen keys going. So this is just like quick, extremely quick and dirty Julia. I start an empty array, then I'll do. I do quite a couple steps in here. So I read all the data into a single string. And then there's the cool function called each split. So what I figured out is, there's like two doubles
All right.
new line characters. Why don't you split on that? And so actually,
It's pretty much
I
what I
can
did
show.
as well.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, let's do this with the test file. I do test A and then show nums. All right. That's not here. What? Oh, yeah. So this is another super cool thing. I have a shell here, so I can just be like, oh, ls, and then I can just pop out, pop in, and I can now rerun the code, and there we go. So this is what I wanted. I have like this nums that I'm gonna keep pushing onto the global array, and then I'm gonna push the sums, and once I push the sums, at the end of it, I'm just going to take the maximum of my array. So once I have the maximum of the array, then this was the test case. I was happy that it worked. And so I did the in A. That's my input data. Fine. But now the machine wants the top 3. So instead of the top 3, so this is the cool part. I remember you were doing like this. Were you working on like iterators for like ranges or?
I was working on a
NVSpan?
ranges library. Yeah, I'm actually using that for my solutions.
Oh, look at you. That's so. And then you mentioned something like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna use the select length algorithm or something." I'm like, and I was like, "What?" And so select length and partial sort, I think they're called. They're like a way that you can get like the top n number of things instead of like the classical way that the problem's asking you like, "Hey, can you like get the top 3 calories from elves and then like add those up?" So like once you get like algorithm pilled, you're like, oh, they're asking for like the top 3. There's an algorithm that goes and gets you the top nth, and then you get those indexes, and then you just sum those. So I think I can do partial sort.
Yeah, like
Of
for something like this where it's what you got. How big are these files? Like a couple of thousand integers. Like doing a full
It's
sort on that is
nothing.
not gonna take a lot of time. But
Right. So that's it. My function is partial sort into the array. I take from 1 to take the top 3, and then just sum those up, and then I can show off the cool function clipboard, which will copy that into my clipboard, and then if all is well, that's not the right answer. Your answer is too low. Oh no.
you got the wrong answer. Oh no, I'm not seeing your
Yeah.
code update by the way. I'm still seeing the old version. And
Wait,
and
really?
yeah.
So I'm using the sum partial sort on the array now.
Yeah,
That's silly.
I don't see any partial sort nonsense going on.
Ah. Wait, you should be able to can you type in this terminal? It says you should be able to.
It does say
Yeah.
shared, but oh wait, you're seeing what I'm typing? I'm not seeing what I'm typing.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. So yeah, you're typing hello.
Yeah, I did just type hello, but people on my stream can't see that. I can't see that, but apparently you can, so I can communicate through the void.
VS Code team. What's the point that you can type and not see it? It's and so wait, maybe.
You know, I'm gonna rejoin the live share session and see if that
There was a way. So it asked me like, "Hey, do you want this to be like a read or a write terminal?" And I'm like, "Oh, make it also a write one."
yeah.
And then I guess I didn't let you when they meant you can't read it. They sure did mean no.
Well,
Right.
now it's doing like really weird stuff. You just get your solution working.
Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna do the silly thing. So, oh, it's because I need to do the. Oh yeah, it's a partial sort in reverse, right?
Or you can partial sort with a flipped
Right.
compactor.
And n minus 3 to the n, or n minus 2 to the end, and then do the sum. What? It didn't like that. Oh, this might be a nice pull request to Julia. So Julia can accept like the begin and end keywords. So you know how in Python you can do like n minus 1 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Julia's similar in that you can do begin and end, but those are generalized in Julia. So you can have generic. There's all sorts of array types that don't necessarily start at 1 or start at 0 or whatever. And so once there's like a syntactic guarantee that those are parsed in such a way that there we go. And then feed this into the clipboard. There we go. Bam! What's up? Yeah, I forgot it to reverse it. So I was doing the lowest to greatest.
Nice.
The greatest to lowest. Yeah, so this is like just the hackiest thing that I needed to do to get it working. Um, it's fine. All right, people are not clamoring for BQN yet, but I want to see your C++ solution. I'm guessing
Yeah.
it's similar to what I
Oh,
did.
let me do a live share with you. For some reason, my
All right.
moderation tools are not showing up on my Streamlabs, and I've got some spam in chat. Oh well, I can deal with that
So
later.
today was like the golden case scenario. Like I was just myself being groggy from waking up and then like not remembering specifically how to split up the data and but like recognizing immediately like the algorithmic patterns
Yeah.
and like the tool like once you know those tools it's like just like pipe a few functions together and that's it. Oh, you forgot to reverse something. That's fine.
Yeah. All right, let me
When
do
it's
a live
bad
share
is
with you.
yeah, when it's bad is when you're like, what is this talking about this submarine? What do I even have to do? Like, if you're only coming up with the brute force solutions, that probably means that you're eventually not gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
Some of these you can brute force, but
All right.
yeah,
I pasted you in a link. Chaku in chat's asking, do I have to implement custom pipe operator for the ranges library? I can show you.
the world.
So I haven't looked at these in a long time, but basically this is implementation of get lines, for example. Basically what it is there's a view type called getLinesView, which inherits from this view interface thing, and that provides a lot of helpers. Then I've got some like machinery which I implemented myself. It has this cursor thing, which is kind of like an iterator, but basically you generate an iterator from this type, and you have like next functions and read functions instead of doing all the operator overloading stuff. And then for the actual piping, that's all. I have some like additional machinery which deals with all of that for me. So I basically just have to have a getLines function thing which has a call operator overloaded, and then you can just pipe things around.
I think I remember there's this really cool essay. Was it by Alexandrescu on like iteration is not enough? Why you want this cursor concept in your generic?
So I can't remember if it's exactly the same. Basically, the utility of cursor here is so iterators have a bunch of stuff like you wanna implement pre-increment operator. You also want to implement the post-increment operator. You want to implement equality, but you want equality to be symmetrical, and all of this stuff. The things that if you were writing like bare iterators, you would have to write a lot of boilerplate all the time. Whereas what I have is you just say how to implement like getting the next element or reading from the iterator, what equality means with different types, and then I have this thing called where is it? Basic iterator. And basic iterator has like, this is long. This is a lot of code.
I'm not gonna lie, when the live share first popped up some of your code, I was like, I really hope this is not their advent of code.
Yeah. Like this is
screen, but yeah.
This is
I
like,
remember somebody was asking a question.
You want to implement the less than operator and the greater than operator and the less than greater than operator. Of course, like now we've got spaceship operator deal with some of that for us, but you just have to do a lot of stuff, and this just makes it a lot easier to implement.
Right.
But as for my
so
actual solution, this is basically what I did. I just got all of the lines from my input, put it into a vector, split
and then
on empty lines. Then for each, that gives you back a range of ranges, essentially. And then for each group, I do a sum, making sure to convert all of the strings into integers first, and then just get the maximum of that range. And for part 2, I just do exactly the same, but do a partial sort on the first 3 values, and then do an accumulation on those.
So the partial sort is the name of the algorithm, right?
Yes, yeah. Basically, you give it. I want to sort this range, but I want it such that only the first three elements are sorted, and that there's a much more less algorithmically complex way which you can do a partial sort rather than having to sort everything. So much better
Yeah.
if you can just say I want the top three things to be sorted and I don't care about the rest.
Yeah. So at least, so for some of my viewers who come from Julia Land and are getting like incredibly scared from the C++, this is way better than what you would have got like even 4 years ago,
Yeah, yeah, for
because
sure.
of the, so this pipe operator, this is doing magic. In fact, this is why I sort of started actually being interested in C++. And I think specifically your streams too, is because like I was not going to be messing with like barehanded indexing like, caveman. And then there were a bunch of presentations by people like, oh no, like you can do the pipes, and then there's the, so like ranges is the concept that you can use to like sort of map a data transformation across like many steps. Like it's most similar to an iterator in Rust, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for
And
sure. Yeah,
so this concept of just like, oh, you take this thing, and so you sort of like abstract the control flow and you don't need to worry about indexing as much. Then there's the lambdas. So here, this is, in Julia we'd call this an anonymous function.
yeah.
Um, and it's because you've delayed on the parsing. You didn't do it all at first, which is fine, right? And
Yes,
then
yeah.
at the
Like
end,
I could have converted all of the integers in the first place, but then you would need some way of representing that empty value. So you could do like a convert all the
replace
strings
and
to
yeah.
optional integers or something, and then split on a std null opt. That would have worked as well, and would have made
Oh,
the fold look a little bit prettier.
yeah. I guess
Like that
I
would have
was lucky
looked
enough that I
without trying to get it like actually compiling. It would look something like
lift.
yeah, lift is so that this is getting into complex stuff. But you're not technically allowed to take the address of standard library functions. Um, so lift is basically the equivalent of doing args, making a lambda which just forwards everything. This will look awful, but it's basically the equivalent of passing like a lambda which calls s2i. So that could convert all of the strings to integers. So you just do convert all of the strings to integers and then split on std null opt. I guess you can
So
use s2i in this case. You'd have to write a version which returns empty optional for things which fail. But yeah, you could do it that way as well.
So for people that think that what Sai's doing might be a bit too complicated, don't worry. They have videos using their cats to explain monads, and it's the only way that I've been able to understand it, other than people just like repeating that thing about like the a
Uh,
monad is the endomorph of the catamorph of the blah blah blah, and I'm like, that's not useful for me. Like I don't.
yeah.
And then Sai was like, no, it's like boxes and cats, and then
Mm-hmm.
like you just look inside the box or
I like
blah
boxes
blah
and
blah.
cats. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I love about this though is that when I brought up my puzzle input, right, and say like, okay, so what I want to do is I want to get the lines. I want to split on the new line. I want to sum up the subgroups, and then I want to get the max element. And then if you look at the C++ code, it says exactly the same thing. I want to get the
Yeah.
lines. I want to split on a new line. And for each group, I want to take that this fold is the only thing, which maybe looks a little bit weird. But using ranges, you can essentially just write code which does the transformations which you're trying to say, rather than like having to write imperatively, okay, in order to do this I'm going to write a loop, and this loop is going to you know
Exactly. And I will say, like, I don't know why my journey started there, but at least when I saw people in C++ just like stating like, split then map this, then reduce it with this or do a fold. I was like, oh, that's a very different way of looking at things. And
Yeah.
so you start getting like algorithm. That's what I meant by like being algorithm pilled.
Yeah.
You start like once you start seeing like all of these different steps in those ways, and to reach for like partial sort or this or that, you're like, wow, there's like a couple famous C++ talks where they're like, oh, that's a rotate, or like this isn't actually a partition.
Yeah.
And so you can start looking at a lot more code and mentally just reducing it into, oh, this is just this. Oh,
Yeah.
this is just that.
And I think a lot of that is the
Oh,
shared vocabulary. Like, if we, you can look at a loop, and maybe if you read the body of the loop and do enough mental parsing, or maybe if there's a nice handy comment above the loop, then you can kind of work out what it's trying to do. Like, oh, this loop is trying to find the first element in this array which satisfies some predicate. Or you could just do like find if range predicate, and then you look at it and you're like, okay, well, this is calling find if, so it's trying to find something. What's the thing it's trying to find? Well, it's past this predicate. This predicate presumably has a name, like is cute cat or something. So now oh, you're trying to find the first element of this array, which is a cute cat, and it's like that shared
yeah.
vocabulary of
And
patterns
so
and algorithms.
and that's something that I really valued because it wasn't like I was starting over from scratch. And I really that's another one of the things that I owe to myself and the universe in some sense, but like you don't have to because you burn out. But like there's Connor Huckstra from Code Report has done like these really cool videos where they do like, oh, like the APL and BQN and like Haskell and C++, like this is what the algorithm is called in Haskell and C++
Yeah.
and this and that, and this is how it maps onto other languages. I don't have one for Julia yet, and so I don't know that we have like all like if you look at the STL and the algorithms library and you're like, hey, we should really make sure that we're feature complete or at least have a mapping for people, then once you have that sort of like lingo to do the crossover, you're not relearning from scratch.
Yeah,
You're just
definitely.
like reaching into like all of these patterns and um
Yeah, and you do have to do like a little bit of remapping. For instance, like for the longest time since C++98, we've had std transform, which is it's a map. Everyone else calls it map basically, but
yes,
we call it
everyone,
transform.
why is
So
why is it called, nobody knows. I know. Yeah, it's aggravating. You can't rescue all the terms. You really wish you would. So speaking of people that completely took this idea and ran with it since like the 50s, somebody sat down at some point and said like, what if we could just have a unified way of saying this algorithm and then the rest I don't care about? That's APL. Or that's how it started. They were just like, what if we could just like encode the idea of a scan or a map in such a way that it was just symbols, like we would all say this is the thing that does that.
yeah.
So let me see if I can I don't know that I know how to replace. So on my screen I'm now sharing BQN. So this is argument cannot be all right. So I knew this was gonna not be fun,
I don't
but
think I've ever really looked at BQN. I've looked at APL in bits and pieces. But...
so where's that? Right. So this is failing because I'm trying to turn it into ints, but I shouldn't yet. So this is I'm getting an array from BQN. So what can I say? Let's say if I have this array, the cool thing is like, so there we go. I think this might be better for people in the chat. So if I have that, this is the array 1,
I'm just
2,
gonna
and
answer
3.
a few questions in my own chat. One sec. So, a few questions in chat while Miguel is showing stuff. So someone's saying it's neat C++ can do this, but it's really obvious that the the language wasn't designed for it yet. Like, we are trying to essentially make the language fit into modern thing. It's like a lot of what's happening across the whole industry, looking more towards functional programming and things like that. And we do have to use C++'s existing syntax, and we can maybe change it a little bit. Like, Izzy Muerte had a proposal for a pipeline operator, which makes some stuff a little bit nicer. But yeah, we do have a lot of history which we still have to deal with, and there's not really a whole lot that we can do about that. Big Slug is asking any recommendations on learning modern C++ better. Apart from C++ Crash Course is the book which they say there, I do think that that's a really good resource. Modern Effective C++ from Effective Modern C++ from Scott Myers, I think is still good. I haven't actually read it. In fact, I have it. It's propping up my monitor right now. It's a really good book. I would recommend giving that a shot, even though it's C++ 14, I think. C++ 11, 14. Still things like smart pointers and some other of the move semantics, some of the really important stuff which came from C++ 11, 14 is covered really well in there. Kate Gregory's Pluralsight courses as well, really, really good. Would highly recommend. You can learn Rust as well. Rust, I like Rust. I love Rust. Like, writing Rust is really fun for me. I did Advent of Code in Rust 2 years ago. That was a lot of fun. Last year I did it in C++, and my friend Yosh did it in Rust, and we shared solutions, so I really like Rust. Yeah, we'll go see if Miguel is done. All right, that's done. I think I'm gonna go drop off now. Yes, hash includes C++ does have a list of resources as well, which you can check out.
All right. But yeah, this was great. I finished it. I don't know how I'll be faring tomorrow, but yeah, this was great.
Yeah. So I'll push my stuff to GitHub. I think I still need to make a repo for it.
Yeah, I'll get around to doing that.
And we'll see you all tomorrow, same time.
Cheers.